Hi, the Study Overseas Live. It's so good to be back in the hot seat.
Mm,
I've just come back from holidays, which is awesome.
yeah, it's looking like you got a bit of a blonde streak there, Rob.
Oh, thank you for noticing. This one. G'day, welcome to Study Overseas Live, episode number 5, and today is a really good show. This is the show for Australian university students who are maybe interested in studying overseas or who've already got it planned. And today's episode is all about how to build your personal brand through this amazing experience which is international study and travel. And by the end of this episode, you're going to have some really concrete, actionable things that you can do that aren't just going to get you a job, but are going to get you the job that you want.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't that the most important thing, Tash Gahari?
Yes, it is. Do you want to keep that on for the entire show, Rob?
Do you mind if I take it off?
Yeah,
it's
you please
it's
do.
actually like really uncomfortable.
It's a bit distracting.
It's a little bit, just a little bit distracting. But overseas study really does give you so much and adds so much to your resume, and so many things that you get to talk about when you actually get to that interview situation. So what do we want people doing while they're watching this stream, Tash?
Yeah, so while you're watching this, we'd really love it if you could like, whether you're on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, like the video, subscribe, ring the bell if you're on YouTube, send us any questions that you might have while you're watching it. And we also have a Facebook group which actually reached 100 people in the group
Nice.
as of this morning.
100 people watching.
Yeah, so head on over and join that group, get involved. We have a lot of content in there already for you guys. We have, this is our 5th episode now, so we've done 4 really great episodes that we've posted into the group as well. So head on over and join.
That's it. And what is a personal brand anyway? If you're wondering about if this show is for you, everybody has a personal brand. Not just if you have a funny hat or a silly wig on. Everybody has a personal brand. And literally, you would have heard that people decide if you're the person for the job in the first 8 seconds of an interview. So how can you actually make sure that you've got that job, perhaps even before you walk into the room? That's really what we're talking about today. But before we get on to that, we've got something else to do.
Now we have Taylor Paradiso joining us for our favourite segment of the week. It's Travel App of the Week.
Hooray. Hi,
Hi,
Taylor.
Taylor.
Hi.
So what app have you found for us this week?
So today I want to talk about couch surfing. So this is a really cool app.
Yeah.
So it's a website. It's also an Android and Apple app, and it's completely free to use. So the premise is you choose a place that you want to travel to, find a host, and literally crash on their couch for free.
I love that.
It's really cool. It is really cool. So I say couch because some hosts literally are staying on their couch. For others, you may find a host who's giving away a spare room. So your experience is very different depending on the host that you opt for.
Right, and is there a bunch of reviews that you can read per person that you're searching?
Yeah. So when you stay at a host accommodation, you are asked to review the host, and that'll come up on their profile. So Couchsurfing actually recommends reaching out to a minimum of 5 different hosts if you're planning on traveling on a specific date, just to keep your options open. And obviously read their references and their reviews on their profiles very carefully as well.
Yeah, I was always a little bit nervous. So couch surfing, like back when I was doing my backpacking, was pretty fresh, and I was like super skeptical about doing it. But I guess what we've seen with like the democratization of Airbnb and Uber and all these kind of like sharing networks is that they've probably like improved all the systems and protocols around that a lot.
Yeah, Exactly, and like Uber and Airbnb, communicate through the app, so communicate through Couchsurfing, so the trust and safety team can monitor your communication as well.
Ah, that's
Oh,
interesting.
Yeah, keep you accountable.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wow, that's a really cool way. Like, particularly if you're doing a little bit of like personal travel alongside a study experience, to basically do it super on the cheap. And I like that tip about just making sure you reach out to lots of different people, so you don't get like left high and dry.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a really good tip.
Yep.
Yeah. Is this available, would you say, in all countries or most countries? What's it like?
Yeah, it's available in most countries. So I believe pretty much all countries, but the hosts are there to share their life experiences, create connections with you, and offer kindness as well. That's the values of Couchsurfing. So it's a really, really great way to get to know the culture of the country you're traveling to.
Yeah, and I love that the host family or the person that you're staying with doesn't get any money out of it. They're literally there just to help you out and for them to gain something from you. So you know that it's going to be a good experience for yourself and for that person you're staying with as well.
Yeah, totally. Well, definitely when I was backpacking, I ended up staying with just random people that I'd met.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Mum. I swear it was fine. You know, people I met at music festivals and stuff like that who were just like, I was just going to sleep on the train. Oh, no, come stay at my place. So I ended up going and crashing at some random's place anyway. So better to have some sort of validation behind that anyway, right?
Exactly. This is more of a formal way of doing that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good.
Oh,
Great
awesome,
tip.
Kayla.
Thanks, Kayla.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
Have a good
See
day.
you next week.
Bye.
Such
It's an awesome app.
an awesome app, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump straight in. So this week, as you know, we're talking about personal branding. So I think we should talk about a little bit more about what is personal branding and why is it so important that everyone should have one, especially leaning into interviews.
Yeah. I really think, you know, Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, famously said your personal brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room.
I love that.
It's so accurate because literally whether you're going for an entry-level job or you're applying for a CEO role, people will form some form of perception about you based on everything you've put in front of them so far. That means if your resume is like our run sheet, like full of information, you know, they're going to kind of read through that and form some opinion based on what you've got in there.
And I might mention as well, it's not even when you get into the room, but it's before. It's when you apply. I would say most people then look you up on social media, on Google, your LinkedIn.
95% of recruiters will look you up on LinkedIn before they actually bother to offer you an interview. 95%. You've got to be playing in that space, otherwise you're missing out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So you've absolutely got to be thinking about this stuff. What's on your social media? And we'll be talking a little bit more about that as well as we go.
Yeah, we have some awesome tips coming up. I think it's the top 7 tips on how you can actually build your personal brand.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and look, the amazing thing about overseas study is that it gives you stories to tell. When you walk into an interview, you know, I love saying this, right? There are 2 types of jobs out there, right? There's the job that you know, you're kind of like, oh yeah, I'd settle for that job, like I need a job. And there's the job that you really want. You know, what's going to get you over the line with that job that you really want? You want to be walking in and being able to tell compelling stories that actually convey to those people sitting across the table why you're the person for the job.
Mm-hmm.
And having that really, you know, consistent story, social media, LinkedIn, resume, and in the interview is what actually will get you that job.
Yeah, and I really don't think it's really not good enough these days to just walk into a job interview and when the employer asks you, so tell me a bit about yourself. It's not good enough to walk in and say, oh, I've studied for 4 years in a marketing degree and...
you and everybody else.
Yes.
Right.
You need something that'll set you apart and you need to tell them more about yourself. And what you can really do is tell them about your travel or overseas study that you've done, because employers really love when that's on your resume, when you tell them about it, because they know that you've got so many skills from it, like flexibility, adaptability.
And it's fun.
Yeah.
Like mostly people, you know, being on interview panels is actually really tough in some ways. If you're interviewing like 5 people, 10 people, I've been on interview panels, we've interviewed like 36 people across 3 days. How do you stand out? Like, if it's just like, I did this degree and I had a challenge because in some group work, like, people weren't doing their share. Like, yeah, right, nice.
You do that 100 times.
100 times. 100 times in 36 interviews. Really? No! What's going to do it is like, the time that I was in Spain, I was lying on a beach and somebody stole my wallet and my passport, and I had to figure my shit out and actually solve a problem, a real world problem. You'll have the interviewers like leaning forward being like, wow, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So how you build, use this international study experience, that travel experience, doesn't have to be study, travel experience, as part of your personal brand is really critical. So shall we jump into the details of the 7 of the ways for you to build your personal brand
Yes.
as part of international study and travel? All right, let's get this going.
We'll also be putting these tips into the Facebook group as well. So if you're watching right now live, don't feel like you have to write everything down. Jump over to our Facebook group, because after the show we'll be posting all of these tips into the Facebook group. So that's Study Overseas Live community.
Yeah. And so if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see Tash talking up the top, kind of above the camera from time to time. That's because we're streaming live to YouTube and Facebook and Instagram right now. And the people who are watching on Instagram and Facebook, they get a little bit of
BTS.
behind the scenes. So if you're watching this on YouTube, maybe jump across next time and watch it on Facebook or Instagram, because we get to talk to those guys a little bit differently. Hello to those people up there. Tip number 1, let's get into it.
Cool.
Instagram.
Tip number 1
Instagram.
is LinkedIn.
My brain is still on holidays. My brain is still on holidays. I'm sorry, people.
Great. Tip number 1 is, I think, the most important. Make sure that you build out your LinkedIn profile. So if you don't have a LinkedIn profile right now, you're doing it wrong. Get one, sign up. It's free, very easy to use. If you've started off already and you've just put a little basic information in, make sure you start building it out. So make sure that you put a professional photo as your profile picture, professional, so not maybe not a picture of you that you would usually use on Instagram or Facebook, maybe a nice white background. What else can you do? You can do write a very awesome summary.
Yeah.
So what's a good way to write an awesome summary? Maybe about what your a personal goal?
Core interests and strengths and goals, that sort of stuff. Remember, Simon Sinek famously said, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So, yeah, the fact that you've got a degree or you've been a soccer referee or all of that's really nice, but people want to know the why about you. They're working with a human being. Why did you do this particular degree? Why did you work in that particular casual job? Those are the kind of things that become really compelling for people.
Yeah, that's going to really make you stand out. That'll be the first thing that people read when they go onto your LinkedIn profile as well.
Totally.
So you do want to make that really punchy.
Yeah, and highlighting those experiences. LinkedIn now has actually really upped their game. You can do these snippets, so you can have images in there. You can link out to different articles. I think you can use 5 different highlights. So if you've got an awesome Instagram profile full of your photos from your overseas study experience, traveling, what have you, link out to that so people can see what you're passionate about.
Yeah, it's almost like you can make it into your own little portfolio now as well. Showcase some of the projects that you might have worked on in the past. If you're a marketing student or journalism student at uni, put some of your published or unpublished pieces in there so that they can, future employers can see it as well and reach out to you. Yeah,
absolutely. Write content. Create some content. LinkedIn is an amazing platform. It's a professional platform though. So it's not like Facebook where you put up your thoughts of the day, or Instagram where you put up your travel photos or what have you. LinkedIn is a professional platform where you can write an article about the 10 things you learned while studying overseas, the 5 things you learned having lost your wallet and your passport, when you were traveling overseas, the 3 things everybody should know about studying at a foreign university. Because when you write those brief articles, it could be a couple of 100 words, it could be a couple of 1,000 words if you really want to get into it, people will start to understand you more. They can see the way that you write and communicate. Most importantly, they can see that you're taking the way people perceive you professionally, that you're taking that seriously. So create a little bit of content. It doesn't take long, but it's very, very powerful.
Yeah, and it doesn't always have to be about your overseas study or travel experience as well. It can be on a topic on what you're studying. So if you're an engineering student, you can write about a type of engineering model. Obviously, I didn't study engineering.
Nice.
But yeah, you can write about anything. Start publishing some articles and start getting yourself out there and interviewing people.
Yeah.
Start interviewing people in your field of knowledge.
That's
and
clever.
Asking them to repost you. You're really going to start creating some really great connections doing that.
Yeah, the content stuff is really valuable. And if, for example, all you need to do is follow the news, you know, like when those kind of events happen in your industry, let's take engineering, you know, let's say that there was a bridge collapsed, I don't know, and there's maybe some scandal around that, write a little bit of an article on it, like write just your opinion on why, you know, standards around compliance have lapsed or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
State your opinion, because the more you are fearless about stating who you are, the more people will be like, okay, this person has some genuine views, they can support it, and weave in your international experience into those articles. So like you can mention in there, when I was studying, you know, on exchange, doing my engineering program in Riga, Latvia, what I observed was they approached this issue like this. Super compelling, and somebody looking at that, employer will look at that and be like, wow, this person really knows their stuff. Yeah. I think we covered that, haven't we? There's a whole article on this, right? Like
Yes.
We've got a whole article on how to max out your LinkedIn profile. This is literally the number one place that potential employers will come to find out about you once you've applied for a job. So, like, you've got to go hard on it.
Yeah, and make sure you list all your skills and ask your colleagues to
Endorse.
endorse you and your
Yeah.
skills. I think that really helps as well. Ask your colleagues to write a little reference for you on your LinkedIn. There's lots that you can do. We have a huge article on how you can really boost your LinkedIn profile.
Let's give you some value straight away. If you are watching this live, jump on LinkedIn right now. Look me up, Rob Malicki. Connect with me on LinkedIn, and I will add an endorsement for you for social media, because you are actually literally doing something for yourself, which is good about social media, and I'll add an endorsement for you right now. Go play.
There you
Okay, build out your LinkedIn profile. We've talked about some of these. Consistent, authentic social media experience. That's really important, isn't it? Because if what people see on LinkedIn doesn't gel with what's on other platforms.
Yeah, especially if your Instagram and your Facebook are open sources at the moment. If they're not in private, but you're very, very professional, LinkedIn, and on Instagram and Facebook, you're not so professional. You like to post a little bit scandalous photos, which is fine, but maybe...
Or TikTok.
Or TikTok, yeah.
If you're a TikToker.
We're not quite on there yet.
No.
But yeah, you want to be able to... You want your personal brand to be consistent.
Yeah, nice. Oh, what are you...
Oh, we've got a question.
Yes, it's a question.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thanks, Jackie. What do we got?
So, this question is, how important are connections on LinkedIn and how many do you need?
That's a
Great question.
A really great question. If you're if you're at university, you can add people that are relevant to you. I think it looks inauthentic if you're a uni student and you've got like the 500 plus connections. Because honestly, like I'm 20 years into my career, and yeah, I've got 500 plus connections on there. But if you're a uni student, if you've got somewhere between like 50 and 200, that to me starts to look pretty authentic as a really good number of connections.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'd definitely say in the early days of your LinkedIn stuff, like don't go trolling everybody. Don't go trolling Richard Branson and connecting with him. Like Richard don't know you. That's true.
So only connect with people who you've met on a personal level.
And who you know. Because when somebody looks at your LinkedIn for the first time, like let's say you're going to that first job interview, somebody connects with you for the first time, they're looking you up for a job interview, and they want to know who you know, and do you have something in common with them. If you walk into that interview and they're like, oh, I saw that you're connected with so-and-so at Macquarie University, and you're like, no, actually not. They kind of will have that disappointed, let down feeling. Oh,
They know that you're just sitting there clicking everyone. Connect.
So just don't do it. Like, authenticity is so much more important. Connect with your classmates.
Mm-hmm.
Like, literally, there's a great feature, I haven't got my phone just here, but there's a great feature on LinkedIn, which is called, like, Near Me Now. And if you are in one of your classes final year and you literally all open up LinkedIn on your phone and you click on this feature which says, like, Near Me Now, you'll all appear, and then you can literally just, like, connect with all of your classmates. That's awesome. Connect with your lecturers. That's awesome. If you're doing internships, if you're
going to conferences, people that you talk to, ask if you right then and there, ask if you can connect.
Friends overseas from the overseas travel. Like, if you've met cool people overseas, those people you can absolutely connect with. But authenticity, 100%. You know, guys that are like 5 years into their career, like, they should be getting up towards that kind of 500 number. I don't carry business cards anymore. I literally just use LinkedIn. Yeah, mine's a little bit nutty. Yeah. But it's good because you can come back and you can actually see where you connected with people. You can see what you have in common. You kind of never forget somebody like you do with a business card.
Yeah, and I think it's a good idea as well, once you connect with someone, send them a follow-up message. Send them a message, hey, it was great to connect with you. I'd love talking to you about ...
Yeah. So that's really good advice. Like, if you want to connect with people meaningfully, I mean, I get heaps of requests all the time, right? You guys, if you've joined today and I'll know where you've come from, right? So I'll accept you. But some people just send the generic, I want to connect to expand my network. That's nice, but what's in it for me? Like, sorry, but literally, what's in it for me? So when you connect with somebody that maybe you don't know well, just as Tash says, give them some value. You know, what are you going to do for them? Why should they connect with you? Yeah. Awesome.
Cool.
That's a really good question. Thank you. Do we have a name on that? Did it say who that was from?
Jackie.
Jackie?
Jackie,
No, but Jackie, yes, you passed it. Okay. Cool. Right, you know, so if we don't know who you are and you're dropping us in a question, please let us know who you are, so that we can shout out to you, because we really like to acknowledge the people who participate. Thank you very much. I think when you have international study experiences, this kind of happens by default, doesn't it?
Yes. I would say personally, my public speaking skills improved dramatically. I only went for a 3-week study program, but afterwards I felt, wow, I feel so much more confident, not just public speaking, but just like talking and relating to people.
Yeah.
It was, because I was forced out of my comfort zone, I felt a lot more confident coming back doing it now.
Yeah. You know, some of the keys to good public speaking and presentations is around how you weave stories into whatever you're talking about. And there are a couple of different ways to do that. The first one is the, like, once upon a time model. Okay, so like literally, once upon a time, I was on a train in Germany, and it was the middle of the night, and I heard a strange kerfuffle and noise coming down the hallway towards it. And it was banging and clanking, and are you kind of curious, or are you like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah, I want to know what's next.
What's next? Do you want to know? I'll tell you in a second.
Yes, I want to know.
I'll tell you in a second. What I've just done there is actually compelling, right? If you start with a story, we are hardwired as humans to respond to stories. It actually disengages like your conscious brain, and it goes right into your limbic brain, which is like the deep primal brain that we have, because storytelling is embedded in our evolution as human beings. So when you start with a story, this one time I was in blah blah blah, people will like lean forward and be like, tell me more. The other thing is this like intrigue, right? So I've created some intrigue, this crashing noise coming down through the carriage. It kind of like leaves that suspense, like what's going to happen next. You can totally do that, like with any international travel or study stories. Like this one time, I was in a classroom in Bergen in Norway, and we were having this group work, and what happened next was the most confusing thing I have seen in a classroom, but also taught me one of the greatest lessons that I've learned in my entire life.
That's super compelling.
You're kind of waiting for it, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Hook. Okay, use your stories. Think about how you can frame those stories in such a way as to like leave a little bit of a trail of suspense. The other thing that people like in storytelling is like this sort of sense of mystery, because you are telling a story and you want to reveal the answer at the end. So in 1945, at the end of the Great War, a group of strange military men were clustered in a bunker. I'm just making this up. Clustered in a bunker, and they stumbled across an incredible secret that would change the course of human history. And I'm going to reveal that to you throughout the course of, I don't know, like this interview. I don't know. Right? Mystery. Some sort of sense of mystery is really compelling. And of course, if you've had that international study experience, travel experience, they don't know how the story ends. You lost your passport. Create some mystery around that. It was the worst thing that ever happened to me. It was disastrous. But I'm sitting in front of you now. And how it happened is an incredible story. It's cool, right? Like, play with it.
Yeah, if you think of all the presentations that you love watching, like all the TED Talks or YouTube videos, you love the ones that tell stories. You don't love the ones that are just sitting there shooting facts at you or shooting pieces of information. You watch it for the stories. So it's the same type of thing.
So there's lots of different ways that you can work on your public speaking and presentation skills. I think what you've just said there, just watch a ton of TED videos and just see how they use those stories and just leave things hanging. That sense of mystique is really powerful. And with your international travel stories, or study, or travel, whatever it is, you can totally do that. Tash.
Yes, so tip number 5 is really like, how do you create or build a personal brand? It's to get some unique experiences onto your resume. So there's a number of different ways that you can do this. You can do it through volunteering, just through your own travel, through a study experience, so exchange, long-term, short-term, clinical placements, interning. There's many different ways that you can really have unique experiences, because as we said before, it's really not good enough to go into an interview now just say I have a bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
You need something extra to really make you stand out.
Yeah, and I think that the thing is that you are, what makes you you. You are a unique combination of skills and experience. That's the truth. All of us are like this unique combination of skills and experience. So even if there's like 1,000 people from your university that have a marketing degree, it's those extra things that you put on your resume that you've got which actually help you stand out.
Yeah, and there are 100 different things that you can do. Might be a good idea to hop onto your careers website to see what opportunities are available to you. Go talk to your international office at your university to see what kind of opportunities are available to you.
Yeah. Let's talk about skills for a second, because when you study overseas, and to a lesser extent I believe travel does the same thing, because it's really all about being outside your comfort zone, what are some of the skills that... Okay, so this is really good stuff. Employers want to see things like you're good working in a group, you're a good communicator, you're flexible, you're adaptable, you've got cultural understanding and can be flexible culturally. These are things that all of the surveys show employers want you to have, like soft skills. Tash, what kind of skills do you get from studying overseas?
Adaptability, flexibility, good communication skills, worldly views.
Creativity.
Yes.
Creativity. How are you not going to get have your job swallowed up by a bot? It's about creativity, like how you approach problem solving and you can solve those problems. Innovation. The bots ain't doing that. So those are the things that you've absolutely got to get on your resume, so that employers see you not just as like a marketing degree or an engineering degree or a law degree, but you are a combination of unique skills, and you can really talk to those in an interview situation.
Yeah.
Super nice.
Yeah.
So much fun you can have with this too, right?
Yeah, I might also say we're coming to the end, so we've got 7 tips, but if you want to, we're going to put all these tips into the Facebook group, so make sure you join the Facebook group, Study Overseas Live community, like our video, share. If you have any questions, let us know, so we can keep creating this awesome tips for you guys. We love doing it. We want to know that you're liking it as well, that you're getting value from it. So yeah, let us know.
We're super passionate about this because so many people, like literally 50,000 Australian students will have an international study experience. Okay, so you've got hundreds of thousands that end up with a degree. 50,000 have an international study experience. That's a heck of a lot of people. What's going to make you, I'm going to this is almost a Rob's rant moment. What's going to make you stand out, right? It's the fact that you actually get to get some of these secrets from a program like this, like a show like this. We're here for you. This gives you such an advantage over everyone else just being here. So ring that freaking bell, and we'd love to see you every week because there's so much great information.
Yeah, we've got so many great episodes coming up.
So many good episodes coming up. So like, share, subscribe is what we like to say.
Yeah.
Leadership programs. What's this about?
So at each university, I believe it's at most universities
have some.
they have a leadership program that you can join. I believe some of them might be exclusive, or anyone can join.
Depends.
When I went to uni, there was one forming, so it wasn't quite there yet. But Rob's been involved with putting some leadership programs together at some universities.
Definitely.
So why would this look good in trying to build your personal brand?
Well, as you say, like, leadership programs are available at most universities, and the model does vary. We have like those elite style programs. You went to Wollongong, right? Wollongong's got a really nice program like Dean Scholars programs. Jack, you're a Dean Scholar, aren't you? Awesome program at University of Wollongong. Like Griffith University has the Griffith Honours College, which is like for students that are high academic performers, as well as engaged in their communities otherwise. And then you've got like these broad-based leadership programs, the Build program at UTS, iLead at Newcastle, Macquarie has the Global Leadership program. There's heaps of them. But they open up a huge range of opportunities to you. As you were just talking about, having that unique combination of experience is really important. And joining an international leadership program just opens up all of those possibilities, all these amazing things that you can get involved in to really add something unique on your resume. Invaluable, absolutely invaluable.
Yeah, I think we might actually have a list of all the university leadership
We do.
programs that we might be able to share. Well, we can share in the Facebook groups. That might be easy to be able to link you to that.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll drop that in the show notes as well. We'll drop the link to the different leadership programs at all of the Australian universities. Join it. Like, just freaking go and join it. Most of these cost nothing. In fact, I think none of them cost anything to join, because universities have this problem now. Like, they know that just giving you a degree is not what's going to be the defining factor for you, and they know they have to give you more value so that more students want to come and study there. So you've got to get involved in these kind of extracurricular activities that are there.
And what would you say to someone who's a bit nervous? They don't really consider themselves as a leader, but they still want something to add to. Do you know what I mean? Not everybody's going to be very forthcoming at looking out for these opportunities.
It's such a good question. Last week I interviewed a sporting event manager. So she organises sporting events, like major sporting events, and she's not that much older than me. She's maybe like mid-40s or something like that. And it's one of those things, like, you end up in this amazing job and everyone goes, oh wow, like you just woke up one day and you were a sporting events manager for like major events. It don't happen that way. It doesn't happen that way. And becoming like a leader is exactly the same thing. You might look around yourself and see some students at uni that are like engaged in everything, and they're part of the student representative council, and they're the president of the club, and those people are like very few and far between. Out of thousands, tens of thousands of people at a uni, there's a handful. The rest of us normal human beings, we've got to work at it. And working at it just means like constantly pushing your comfort zone a little bit further out, joining that leadership program, going to that seminar, connecting with that one person that you really admire on LinkedIn, and reaching out to them, asking if, you could work on a project with them that adds value for them. Yeah, they're going to say yes to you.
Yeah.
And then you expand your network. Leadership is this incremental process. You don't wake up the next day as a leader. You don't wake up the next day as a CEO. You bust your ass for 20 years in order to get there.
Yeah.
Step by step.
So a good place to start is by joining a leadership program at uni.
100%. 100%. And they'll give you a whole bunch of like skills and experience and opportunities that will get you there bit by bit. That's almost another Rob's rant, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
I'm really sorry. I just get so into this stuff and so excited. Nice.
Cool. Number 7, our last tip on how to build your personal brand is expand your network by meeting as many people as you can.
Which you really do through overseas study, don't you?
Yeah, you really do. The amount of people that I met just on my 3-week experience is crazy. There was about 30 students that I went on the program with, but there was a couple other programs running at the same time, so there was about 100 of us all together, and they were just Australian students. But then there was the ambassadors that we talked to as well that I still talk to and connect with at the host university. And then there's the coordinators, there's your professors, which I connected with LinkedIn, and I still keep up to date with what they're doing on LinkedIn, which is awesome. So just in that 3-week experience, I met so many people that have helped me with my career as well down the track. So imagine what you can do if you're traveling for 6 months or 12 months.
Yeah.
It's mental. I can't imagine the amount of people that you met on your 6-month exchange or your backpacking trips.
Yeah, and I mean, I think what you said though is most important, right, is like when you meet those great people, take the time to stay in touch with them. A lot of the people that I met back in those days, I met some cool kids and what have you traveling around, and I'm still in touch with a handful of them, but a lot of them, you know, I've just kind of let those relationships lapse, which can be okay. Like, you can't stay in touch with everybody, of course, but your personal brand is a reflection not only of the things you've done and your skills and experience, but of the people that you know and you're associated with. Tim Ferriss says a lot, I love the expression, which is like, you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. You're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That could be, you know, like, we're hanging out all the time. You know, you're super smart and I learn a lot from you about how to do things. It could equally be like, I don't know, whoever this dude is, Gino Wickman, you know, he's written a lot of good books, and, you know, I read a lot of Gino's stuff. I spend a lot of time with Gino.
Yep.
And so I've learned a lot from him. That stuff becomes who you are and becomes a really integral part of your personal brand. But it only happens if you like stay in touch with those people and you kind of keep those connections alive. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I also think a good way to expand your network is to go to events, go to professional events, go sign up for an online networking event, or
Have you ever used Meetup?
I haven't.
The app?
No.
Yeah, I've downloaded it, and the thing is, there's so many different groups. So Meetup is an app. It's not a hookup app. It's called Meetup. It's basically like based around interest groups.
Okay.
So if you're interested in international relations and you're in Sydney, there'll be a Meetup group called International Relations Sydney Group, and like hundreds of people might join that group, and occasionally they'll organise an in-person physical meetup where if you have an interest area, you can go along and join. It's just driven by the community. I remember.
Great idea.
Oh God! I mean, the thing was that it gets really overwhelming, right? Because there's so many opportunities for you to go and connect with people, and you can search geographically to find out, you know, which groups are around and which ones meet your interests. So powerful. Like, if you really want to improve your personal brand in a particular area, expand your network in a particular area, download that app. It's free.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Go hang out. Yeah.
I think alongside that as well is joining your clubs and societies at your university as well, same type of thing. A lot of universities have it by academic societies that you can join, or by personal interest, so like the Harry Potter Society at Wollongong University.
Nice, yeah.
Connect with people who you have similar interests with, and you might have same values as well, really add to your personal brand.
Absolutely. And do you. You know, like, don't do what you think is going to get you wins on the board. Do what interests you. Join the Harry Potter Society if that's your thing, because you'll meet people who are like-minded, and that deepens your sense of connection with them, and it's going to be more valuable to your personal brand and therefore your job prospects if you are always authentic and true to yourself, not just doing what you think people want to see, 100% all the time.
Yeah.
The end. The end.
Cool. We hope you loved these top 7 tips. We will post them in the show notes.
Yeah.
So join the Facebook group, Study Overseas Live community. We'll post them all in there, and we might. And
I'm going to tell you the end of that story.
Yes.
On the train, but we've got something a little bit fun before we get to that. Friday afternoon, Home Overseas office. In fact, what you probably don't know is that just over the wall out there is a childcare, and occasionally odd things come over the fence, like this hula hoop. And so we thought it might be funny just to see who in the office can actually hula hoop. So, being an idiot that I am, I'm going to give it the first go. You ready for this? This isn't going to work. All right. Next. Look at that. Yeah. All right, but apparently Ellie, who's our marketing communications coordinator, is a bit of a hula hooper. So
give it a try. God, I can't do this.
No pressure, Ellie.
No, I'm not.
Ellie! Happy Friday.
We have Jackie doing a country deep dive for this week. Hi, Jackie.
G'day, Jackie.
Thanks for having me back again.
Of course. What country are you going to tell us about today?
Well, it's one of my personal favourites. It's the beautiful country of Norway. So I've actually been there a few years ago, and when I was having a look back through my photos to research for this deep dive, I just thought, oh my gosh, I want to go back 100%.
Nice. What made it so good?
Oh my gosh, I don't know where to begin. I went in winter, so it was just, not only is the scenery just absolutely amazing, but I also got to see the Northern Lights. Wow. So that was a big tick off the bucket list, yeah. But this segment with just the basics. So Norway actually has a population of around 5.3 million, which, just to put that into perspective, is the size of like the Sydney area. So the country is not small, and it's just really spread out, and so you can just really appreciate the nature and all the beautiful scenery and everything. They also use the Norwegian krone, and yes, everything you have heard is true. It is a bit expensive to travel over there, but in my opinion, it is 1000% worth it. Like, it's just so beautiful.
Does that include it's expensive to get there, but also expensive once you are there as well?
It's not that expensive to get there, really. Like, from Australia, yes, but that's anywhere. Yeah. But in Europe, you can EasyJet or Ryanair or something, and it'll be maybe $100, $150 return flights, which is not that bad. That's like from Sydney to Brisbane. So why not go to another country? Yeah.
I do remember having a beer in Norway and just getting the bill, and it was like $20 for a beer, and just crying into my drink. Like, oh, this is better be a good beer.
Yeah, if you're going out for drinks or going out to eat, it can be quite expensive, which is why I would recommend just going to the oh, hello, Pixie. Which I'd recommend going to the supermarkets like Coop or Kiwi or Bunbury. So that is what I did to kind of keep the prices down. Another cool little interesting fact about Norway, which also helps keep the prices down, is allemannsretten, which is the every person's right to free access of the public space, which means throughout the majority of Norway, you can pretty much set up camp anywhere as long as it's not in anybody's personal property, and you can do this for free. So if you're a big hiker or camper, or even if you're not, just buy like a $40 tent and go and camp all the way through Norway in summer and spring to do a bit of hiking and check out the amazing views. So I'm definitely going back to do that.
I've got a really good mate who did that, allemannsretten thing. You can pronounce it better than me. And he did it in winter, and basically had an inflatable kayak with him, and he hiked literally almost from like top to bottom of Norway as far as he could go, and was just, it's all fjords and amazing landscapes, all just up and down. But you basically like just hike through the bush, camp for free, and pop down into town once in a while to buy a couple of kilos of chocolate and a bag of rice.
Just to get by.
Yeah, and then just like kayak across the fjord, like crazy dude. Neil, that's you. But the most epic stories of landscapes and adventures.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. Also, another thing that I found quite interesting, when I met some Norwegian locals, they said to me, just hitchhike. Like, it's super safe here, just go for it. And I thought, oh no, like I don't want to hitchhike, but I ended up doing it. Don't tell my mum. But it was absolutely fine. Lady picked me up, dropped me off at the bus stop. She spoke English. We had a nice chat. So another way to keep the cost down if you feel comfortable enough trying that.
And everyone does it?
That's what I was told.
Mm-hmm.
And my one experience was good, but don't go entirely off me. I'm just information.
Cool.
Yeah. The last thing, of course, I have to come back to is the Northern Lights. So obviously that's on pretty much everybody's bucket list, and I would highly, highly, highly recommend going and doing it. The most popular places are Bodø, the Lofoten Islands, and Tromsø to see them, and you want to see them in kind of end of January, February, when it's still winter, so it's still dark, but it's not that utterly pitch black throughout the whole day kind of dark that they end up having. Pixie's back.
Wise
Hello.
advice. And very good universities in Norway too. If you're going there for like a longer term experience, places like Oslo and Bergen are absolutely phenomenal in terms of cities. Great universities. And actually quite accessible to the rest of Europe with the discount airlines and the like.
Yeah, and like all through summer, the trains go right up and down the country. So it's a little bit more difficult in winter. I could go all the way up to Bodø, and then I had to catch the plane to get to Tromsø, which is in the Arctic Circle. But that's where I saw the Northern Lights, and it was very, very cool. But I would suggest staying at least 3 days, because you don't want to travel all that way and then end up not seeing them because of some cloud cover or something like that.
That's super good advice. Yeah, really good advice. Hey, look, does anyone have a question? If you've got a question about traveling to Norway, hit us up in the comments and we'll get back to you. Cool.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome, Jackie. Thanks so much for sharing that with us.
That's okay. I love talking about it.
See you next week.
See you next week.
She's so good, isn't she?
Yes.
That
We
was
love
so
Jackie.
awesome. And I really want to go to Norway,
Mm.
actually. So some of you would have noticed on the bookshelf, this one is like getting swiped. I'm swiping the Norway book. There we go. Swipe that for next
Are
time.
you going to keep that in there all day? Until next week.
Until next week. You'll be like, what happened to Rob? And he like comes, walks out of the office with all his books. Yeah, very good, very good. Oh, awesome. Well, we're getting towards the end here. This has been a really, really good episode.
Yeah, if you're enjoying it so far, make sure you like, subscribe, ring the bell, leave us a comment, let us know that you're enjoying the show. We'll post the show notes after the show. Make sure you join the group.
All these things are good, and we'll be seeing you next week. But before we do that, who's our unsung hero this week, Tash?
Yeah, really excited about this unsung hero this week. So our unsung hero is Dakota. So she's from the University of South Australia, and she's an ambassador, and she's an awesome ambassador for overseas study. She went on a 3-week study program to University of Charlotte.
Cool.
University of North Carolina in Charlotte. She's a super proactive person. She's only been working for about 2 to 3 months as an ambassador, but super passionate about spreading the word. She's told over, I believe, like 100 to 150 people.
Wow.
Is really passionate and wants everyone to have such a good experience as she had. She's a real go-getter. And alongside working as an ambassador, she's also obviously has university. She has a bunch of part-time work and busy social life. So just for her to take time out of her schedule to be able to spread the word about overseas studying is just amazing. So if you're from the University of South Australia and you've seen Dakota come into one of your classes or you've seen her in the future, make sure you say hello and ask her about her experience, because she'll just talk your ear off about it. So thank you for all the hard work that you've done for international education.
That's it. And if you had one of those international study experiences, make sure you share the love, because you know how valuable it is for everybody. Awesome. Well, that's pretty much the end of our show today,
Yeah.
isn't it? Except for the end of my story.
Yes.
Are we gonna? You know what? Maybe I should just leave
Don't
that.
say next week.
Leave that till next week. That'd be really slack, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So I was on the train, it's the middle of the night, and I hear this sound coming down through the carriage, like banging and crashing. And I was in like a sleeper compartment. There were like 6 seats facing each other, and suddenly like the door gets thrown open, like, and these 2 guys jump into the carriage, like, and like slam the door, bam, like these 2 young guys, and they're like looking around frantically. Like, I'm just sitting there, like, what the hell's going on? And one of the guys like looks at me. He kind of suddenly realised that I'm there, and he's like, shh. I'm like, okay, I'm not moving. And then these 2 blokes climb up into the luggage racks. So, you know, above the seats, there are the luggage racks.
Yeah.
And they like curled up in a ball in the luggage racks. And no more than about 10 seconds later, the train guard comes running down through the carriage, and like he's like throws open the door, and he's got his flashlight, and he's like, have you seen 2 young men come running down through here? And I'm just like, and then like off he went. Like, he kept going down looking for these guys. And about 5 minutes later, so I'm just sitting in the carriage being like, who the hell are these? True story. Who the hell are these guys that have
And
just
why
like,
are they running
what the
away
hell are they
from
running away? About 5 minutes later, they climbed down and they start talking in German to begin with. I'm like, sorry guys, only English. And then they're like, oh, thank God. Like, basically they were stowaways on the train, and the guard had caught them, and they were just trying to like stay on this train. So they were just running away to escape this guy, and they climbed up into the luggage rack. We just ended up having a good old chat until halfway through. It was hilarious, but that's just travel for you. All kinds
There
of
you go.
crazy
Awesome
things can
story.
happen. Yeah, that's it. And that's how you finish a story, and that's how you finish an episode of Study Overseas Live.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, everyone.
Awesome to join you, and we'll see you next week on Study Overseas Live. Bye.
Bye.